Welcome
because
to
baton means stick. So yeah.
Mm.
welcome to Talking to Famous People. I am the host of Talking to Famous People, Zachary. We have the host of Talking to Famous People, Eric, and we have our famous person, Lindy or Het. And in this video, we're going to discuss, partly in response to Mega Rose comment on what does existential terror feel like, but just in general, our thoughts on existential terror, existential angst, and the emotional states that come with existing.
Let's define it first, a little bit. I think the key point of it is the existence part in existential.
Yeah, I think with the essence of being naturally causes states of emotional states primarily to exist in people where they feel perhaps some anxiety about their identity and their role in life, their purpose, or perhaps if they're going to be alone, what their emotional connections are like to others, things like that. And so I think
What
the
do you,
go on.
what do you think, Kat?
Um, it's interesting. I don't know. I don't know what I think at this moment.
Do you identify with the expression? Like, I think we've all probably heard the expression at some point, but I'm not sure we all feel a sense of, oh, I resonate with that notion, that I've experienced that myself. I think some of us do more than others. Um, does it resonate with you?
Um, yeah, in a sense. I guess so. I actually was kind of thinking on that today, but in a way, but not that specifically. It was like a thought within a thought.
I see. No, Eric, I watched your video today on your existential terror the other night, and that video is really good. It actually made me cry watching it.
Hmm.
And it seems that you identify existential terror as sort of a fear of kind of losing connection with those around you. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
Well, I certainly wouldn't have put it in those words. I don't know if it's inaccurate or not, but I'd say it's fear of loss more than anything else,
Hmm.
and of change, oddly, but of change specific to relationships and people being gone. I mean, and my own aging and seeing my friends, because I have friends who, I have a good friend who's 50 something and I mean, early 50s, I guess, or he's almost 50. He's 49. And to him, when I talk to him about this stuff, there's a sense of, oh, the time for doing things is over. The time for making moves. The time for new ventures is over. That it doesn't depress me. It terrifies me.
I I wouldn't say that the time for venturing is over necessarily. I mean, it's like what exactly does he mean by that? I mean the time like it's too old to you're getting to the age where it's no longer productive to uh, begin new activities and pursue new
Well, I mean, the
arts.
sense I got from him was like I was saying, hey, let's do this and let's do that and like like I always have. Except the sense I get from people my age in general Although I do get the sense that people are starting to afford me a legitimacy that they didn't used to. But the sense I get is one of sort of like a sadness, like, Eric, you're too late for all that stuff, you know? And it's, I mean, I think to the extent that it upsets me, I need to respond with a firm, no, you're wrong. But that's not my gut response to it. My gut response is to say, oh shit, look how old we all are.
Do you still feel as you do when you were my age? I mean, do you still feel like, do you still have the same, I suppose, perception of the world?
No, it's much clearer now, for sure. But it was all muddied before with damage and stupidity and stuff like that. I don't know. Ego stuff, problems, things that being really concerned with that it didn't matter. You know, and prioritizing the wrong things.
So, I have a question. Is yours like a fear or maybe like this idea that you're running out of time?
No, it's, I guess going back to Zach's original point, it has more to do, I'm not so much worried about myself running out of time as I am about the people around me changing as I'm busy doing my thing. It seems like they're such a low priority in terms of time. And I think a lot of humans experience this. For whatever reason, because of work, because of various other commitments and everything, they prioritize things other than their relationships.
So, like growing apart from people?
It's not that. It's what I said, which is people changing when you're not looking.
But wouldn't that kind of fall into growing apart from them? Like you're doing your thing and then they're doing their thing. And within both of you separately kind of living your lives, there's distance that happens because of changes on both sides, really.
I don't really feel like relationships change that way for me, except for one kind of relationship. Intimate relationships, obviously, once those end, you're no longer as close to that person, and it's a substantial change. But relationships that are friendships, I don't tend to adjust my perceptions of the level of closeness of the friendship based on frequency of interaction very much.
Okay. I guess my thought with that was more like, with you were saying like, I don't remember how you put it exactly, but I guess my thought with that is whenever people are, like you are spending time apart and they're like doing their thing and you're doing your thing, there's change that happens, so you might not talk to that person or whatever, and it's not about frequency, but it's about like not, perhaps they've changed how they are. Is it something like that to where they're not the same as they were?
In part, it has to do with changing changing commitments, you know. So to a certain extent, it has to do with, as people grow older, they prioritize social endeavors less in general. And one thought that just occurred to me right now is that they fail to distinguish between purely social endeavors and worthwhile creative endeavors. And a conversation like this becomes a worthwhile creative endeavor because we film it and put it on YouTube. And it causes us all to behave differently than we otherwise would. And it causes the resulting product to be something that if we all are smart people, if you get a few NTs in the room, you're probably going to have a pretty interesting conversation. You know?
The see that's interesting to me. The existential terror manifesting from the change of individuals when you're not looking, right? That you would normally have bonds with. I My existential terror is more, would introverted be more appropriate? The maybe terror wouldn't even be the what I would describe it as. Well, see, I mean, I'm pretty young, and I feel as I am now, I'm almost fully developed. I've almost received all of my cognitive faculties, so to speak. The biological faculties which I am equipped with to navigate through the world are
You got
almost
four
60%.
left. You got four left. You get them at the end of June, I think.
Yeah. Um, and I feel an anxiety, because there's a there's an anxiety to sort of understand what exactly I'm experiencing. I think that I think it's important to progress your understanding of the world and of yourself, and I feel a heavy obligation to do that. And sometimes I feel like there's no vector by which I can relate my experiences toward to make sure I'm achieving some sort of progress, right? I mean, there,
Het,
go on.
Het, do you have any thoughts on that before I chime in on it?
Um, I I can really relate to that. What he said. Um, with like just kind of not having something that like it's almost like something that's you don't have something to measure it by necessarily with that kind of thought process. I was having a conversation today actually, and I feel like I'm kind of like, on this hamster wheel, and it's like, what is it all for, and what am I kind of, what am I gaining by learning or by experiencing things? Like, where is it really taking me? The, what is the goal that I'm
Destination.
working towards with that? Yeah,
What kind of stuff do you do?
me.
Yeah.
I work. I do like volunteer kind of stuff. I have a lot going on.
Yeah, I think this notion of understanding the limit, the finite amount of potentialities that we have, and making determinations of which ones to kill and which ones to preserve, which ones to, I guess, not preserve, but which ones to pursue. I mean, there is that preservation issue too. When you're talking about potentiality, you've got the opportunity to either pursue slash kill. You pursue some, you're going to kill some others by choice. Simply making a choice necessarily makes that so. Or you can attempt to preserve, meaning like you want to leave shit open. Well, let's not make a decision yet. Um, of course, that's that's part of the magic of everything is figuring out that timing. Like for me, knowing how long to wait for the universe to provide something and when you're supposed to act and how is challenging.
Yes, yeah. That's kind of how I don't know. I feel like as I learn more and develop an identity, I get these intuitions of information or understandings, and the attempt to categorize and rationalize those into a system is there's a burden to that of being able to understand exactly what all this is. I think that's what I would identify a sort of existential anxiety toward is understanding the self and understanding how yourself relates to the external world in which you manifest in.
Oh, What do you think about this idea? Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead, Het. I'd like to hear what you have to say.
No, I actually kind of said that exact thing today, what he said about where kind of it's where you fit in the outside world. And I think that's a very introverted thinking type process of identity, because I don't think all different personality types would necessarily find their identity in that. It's more of this idea of trying to look on the outside and understand how other things kind of work inside themselves, but also understanding how you work, like your internal processes work. But then how you fit within all that. It's like, making the connections within the connections. I think
But
that's a
see, I think
very
that's an FE thing. I don't think it's whatever it was that you said it was. I think it's an FE thing.
an FE thing.
If FE, people who have FE as their conscious feeling function view themselves as their position in the outside world. And FI would be the opposite more. It would be my thoughts on it,
Well, my only reason for thinking that it's more of a TI based, kind of like an internal thinking kind of thing, is because of it's not a big distinction, but it's a slight distinction where for like INFJ, I have a lot of experience with because my mom is. So that leads with FE. She has more of this idea of like where she would find her place in the world with her identity, kind of like I think her existential crisis, I guess,
Do you
way to
mean,
say it.
do you mean ENFJ?
No?
Okay, because if they're leading with extroverted feeling, it's ENFJ. If it's leading with introverted intuition,
Oh, yeah.
it's INFJ. With extroverted feeling in the second slot for INFJ.
I think it's also
That's incorrect.
another thing that comes with the angst is, I mean, you're trying to figure out how this self that is apparent to you fits in with the external world, but you're also trying to understand uh, what exactly is is apparent, right? Like what exactly is and there are a lot of different ideologies and viewpoints from that manifest from the external world you can be exposed to, but there's an anxiety and a burden to understand what, like right now I feel like in my life at the moment I don't have any cohesive systems that I really feel any strong inclination toward, I'm sort of completely impartial. And
But that, can I interject with this
yeah,
notion that what you have in front of you and you're utilizing right now is something better than any cohesive system. It's a meta system. It's a system that allows you in your youth, which is the time when you're supposed to be doing this, to evaluate a number of different systems, a number of different perspectives. If you have a sort of deeply embedded faith in the system of have your own ability to process correctly and render correctly into meaning the multiplicity of ideas that you come to encounter in this exact thing that you're doing right now, and that you're already locked into, then I mean that in the sense of you already have a place locked down. You don't have to. It doesn't mean you have to pursue any further. Then, to a certain extent, you have to be comfortable with having a meta framework that's going to be effective and give it the time it takes to produce the results you want.
I suppose that's a good way to put it. But I guess it's I guess that's the anxiety comes from once the if the meta framework is going to produce the correct results, right?
I guess it depends how you determine when the results are correct.
That's a good way to put it as well.
It's about the metric, That's the thing. The metric and the outcome are almost the same thing, and and a realistic metric is going to be one that fits in with another framework. So it's these sort of levels of perspective that happen in debate reflect our experience of reality pretty well. You know, for me anyway. Of course, I tend to see everything in front of debate, but you know, just like the Spanish teacher probably saw everything framed through the worldview of beginning Spanish. Like they walk around and they go like, el autobús, el autobús. What are your thoughts on all that stuff?
Um, y'all kind of lost me a little bit. I was still kind of on my other thought, uh, true to form.
Oh, you were spacing. Well, congratulations. That's common. I'm sure we've all done that plenty of times. Where somebody's talking and just like thinking about something they said 3 sentences ago that's already like evolved into this little thing in your head, and then they go, "So what do you think about my cousin Mary?" Oh, because usually when people ask you a question, they ask you something dumb like that, you can just get any old answer. She sounds
Yeah,
great.
you
She
always have
sounds
to give a
great.
neutral answer. You always have to give something neutral, just such as like, I mean, I don't know. I don't have any particular
Interesting.
opinion. Yeah.
Interesting is a good one. Fascinating.
Or change the
Yeah.
topic real quick. Yeah.
Or just say, yeah, I spaced.
Yeah, that's probably the
I'll
best
just go
solution
with
right
it.
there.
Yeah. Who are you again?
Well,
Yeah.
we were
Yeah.
talking about the idea of feeling as though you need more information or more clarity on purpose, right? And I
Hmm.
presented the notion that there's a certain time frame involved in that. If you have a meta framework, some sort of process in mind by which you're going to figure out these with more certainty which channel you want to take. If you're on a channel assessment mission, then you don't have to worry about not having determined yet the exact channel towards truth you wish to pursue.
Okay.
I guess there is a certain
So,
significance to that, but it's also a really uncomfortable place to be in, right? You know.
Or not for
so,
an ENTP. Head?
so I was just wondering. So, what you're saying is like not starting with kind of like a frame of what truth is, still trying to develop what you like, where your perspective is, and what you. I don't know how to explain what I was asking.
Well, I think this represents the difference between TI and Dom and any Dom, because to me, I'm perfectly comfortable just endlessly bouncing between the various models and framework as I need them to make my point. As to why exactly I believe the point I do or why I'm making that point, is going to vary a lot by circumstance. But I understand that INTPs don't function like that. They want to have a satisfying, in my opinion, this is my assessment of it, they want to have a satisfying model that they can build shit on. They can build their identity on. Just as what I'm doing right now is I'm building my identity by getting opportunity to get other people to find me,
Yeah, I
which I
think you're
think the
right, and I
ENTP
don't know
does.
if it is. I mean, I can't speak for all INTPs, but allow me to speak for all INTPs. I think you're right that I think at least for myself, I find it hard to work if there isn't a comfortable paradigm to work within, and when you're still existing in the meta realm where you haven't even decided on a paradigm. And it's really important. I mean, there are some real effects that happen based on the paradigm and ideology you choose to pursue and choose to identify as. And I just think I think I have an obligation to, as I enter the political environment, as I enter the philosophical dialogue of that's been going on for, millennia, that
Well, I mean, you've already picked your perspective. You're exercising it right now. It's perspective of conditional agreement, in which you say at the moment, I think this is the strongest thing that I've heard, and here's why. If you have something to defeat it, great, let me hear it. Eventually, when you test these arguments enough in battle with various people in various contexts, and you'll have plenty of opportunity here on talking with various people, I imagine, um, you can find out what's weak and what's strong. I mean, that's the thing. I argue the points I argue because they're strong, not because. I mean, because they're the strongest points, that means they're true. Do you have a different definition of truth, Het and/or Zachary?
Just because something looks like it could be strong doesn't mean that there aren't flaws in it. Like I I get what y'all are saying, and I guess I tend to look at things on a, you're looking at a grander scale, and I'm trying to like put it into like real life practical application kind of thing. But kind of on those, on kind of what he was saying about like when you're not sure about the system or whatever, you don't know how to like have an opinion on it, I guess, or whatever. That's kind of what I got from what you were saying. I think about myself in like a social situation, where if I'm going to go up to someone and have a conversation, if I don't have a direct purpose for that conversation, it's not going to happen because there's like, because I don't have anything to say. So I just kind of like won't say anything. That's just me taking it down like 100 notches.
What would you identify your life purpose as, Lindy?
My life purpose?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Do you want to know?
I mean, I think I have an
I have the answer
idea.
right here.
I think
You
I
know
have an
that?
idea of what it might be, but no, I don't really think I want to know because then it's limiting.
I've got the answer right here.
I don't want to know the answer.
A genie delivered it to me the night last night.
What's the fun in that, though? You know, if you like
I think it's
know.
important to have a purpose and
That's your
strive for.
purpose? Oh my God, I am appalled. Lindy Henderson. Oh, shocking. I am appalled.
Do you think it's important to know your purpose?
Do you think it's possible to know your purpose?
Okay, whether or not possible or not, do you think it's important?
Well, how could it be important if it's impossible?
Nothing's impossible. Improbable maybe, but not
Yes, some
impossible.
things are
The
impossible.
things are impossible, yes.
Square circles are impossible.
Anyway.
Hard to argue against that.
Naming something that has no name is impossible. Name me something that does not fit within the set of all that can be named.
Well, once you name it, then
The
it's not in
particular-
that set anymore.
Mm-hmm. So it's impossible, right?
Sure, it's impossible.
I'm not ready to. No, I'm not. I don't know. I'd have to think about that for a while before I could concede that point, but it would take too long for it to be interesting entertainment.
Okay. We all just sit here and watch Zach think. He's trying to What do you think about that? Well, I mean, look, the thing about impossibility is there are at least two kinds of impossible. There's logically impossible, which just means definitionally impossible. That is to say, there are two words that definitionally preclude each other. And to have them in the same sentence or same context like that, where I say a square circle, it's the same thing as making contradictory premises in an argument. If you accept that as something that has meaning, then anything in the universe can be proved to be valid. So that's the problem with it. It breaks the whole system if you accept it's possible to have a square circle.
Okay. I get that. This is so you say, is it possible to know your purpose? So my thought was saying like that it's maybe improbable. There are people who truly believe that they know their purpose in life. So who are you to dismiss what they truly believe?
I didn't say it's not possible.
That's true, you did.
I asked if it was possible. Lorenz, do you have something to chime in here? I don't mean to exclude. And if you have a camera, we'd love for you to turn it on. If not, that's fine too.
Yeah, no, I don't. Not right now.
Okay. Is it possible to know your purpose is the question.
Well, I think that's just dependent upon the person because to believe it's possible, then I mean, I guess it is, right? If they think it's possible and they think that's their purpose, then it might as well just, for all intents and purposes, be their purpose.
Do you think it's possible that somebody might live as though something were their purpose, actively think it's their purpose, and then later in life go, oh, that was never my purpose, what an idiot I was?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, so are we taking the stance that your purpose is something that you have found yourself, or is it something that is this mystical thing that you are placed on Earth to find? Like, is it outside of you or is it inside of you? I think that's a really good question to ask.
Well, I think something can make you feel purposeful, which gives us probably a lot of information about where purpose is located. I mean, if you can feel purposeful, then isn't the purpose coming from you?
I think purpose,
Okay.
we could define purpose as the the ways in which your behavior interacts with the world. So, let's say, let's
That's
say,
not purpose. I think purpose implies intention.
okay. Are you implying that actions you made weren't intended? I mean, intended by who?
Well, see, I think that the question can only be satisfactorily answered with something that gets a little bit mystical, like you were saying, Het, about bye, Eric. Sorry you didn't stay. Like you were saying about the fact that, well, this purpose means something that you discover, or is something that changes, that you evolve, or whatever. I mean, I think I would imagine that it would function on multiple levels, right? That on one level it would be changing, but my, like, for example, if we were to think of my socionics purpose, socionics describes somebody a purpose, which is to say a job in society that's fundamental, that's not specific to any kind of work, but like it might argue that the ENTP's job is to, or I would argue the ENTP's job is to disrupt existing systems. And the INTP's job is to render meaning by weaving and linking and parsing.
Is it the same thing as
It's,
purpose, though, or is
it's,
that just
So
something
is
that
purpose
happens?
natural inclinations?
well, it,
Well, I
it
think there are
depends.
natural factors. I think that there are intrinsic qualities that each person has based on arbitrary means. People are born with different attributes, and I think actualizing on those attributes would be aligning with your own purpose. That's what I'm going to lay down the claim.
Hmm.
Okay. So this kind of like begs the question if you how do you develop your attributes, things that you were, well, like what you were saying, you develop that through like experience, and some of it you're born with and it's natural, but a lot of it's relational and it depends on like your experiences and things like that. So then then is it something that you find that encapsulates all of that, or is what you're talking about something that's kind of like I don't know how to explain what I'm thinking. Like, do you just find what fits all of that? Is that
I
what
understand the
purpose is?
question.
I think I do understand the question. I think what you're asking is the size of the set. And I think the confusion is, I think we're dealing with multiple, perhaps infinite sets in a hierarchy. So that understanding something, when we talk about a purpose, our purpose exists on a very short, small scale. When we're saying, why do I go to the store to get a lighter? My purpose of coming here is to get a lighter. But that's not my purpose in life. Well, what's your purpose for the next scale up? And then eventually you get to the scale of, what's the purpose of humanity? What's the purpose of all this life happening on
Well, I
Earth?
think that I would, in response to that, then I would say the set ends in the context of a society. So I think it would be like a communitarian type of view where it's within the community your defined purpose. Your purpose would be defined by your intrinsic role within the community based on the implicit qualities that you were inclined toward, perhaps biologically or early environmentally.
I mean, in that context, like my role would be to resist the natural forces of authoritarianism built into TE, you know?
Yeah, I kind of
Because
see the, I
go
kind of
ahead,
see
sorry.
the typings. I kind of see the typings kind of like roles that people would play in a society anyhow. So can be like fulfilling those to our maximum, partially be purpose. It's our purpose to.
But here's the question: who is
I'm not
keeping
sure.
score?
Well,
That's the
I
problem.
think
With any such model, I want a scorekeeper. I want a judge, and I want to win this fucking thing. Life, that is. I want a score at the end. Then you have a clear-cut purpose. You got a clear-cut criterion for victory or loss, or at least like having played well. You know.
Well, I think that
I
okay.
know.
I think so. You saying that is an interesting point because I think do we all agree that it's hard? You have to define the context in which a person's experience is going to be in before you can define their purpose, right? So if there isn't a bracket, so to speak, then there's no way to define a purpose because there's no guideline, there's no barriers or ends to refine or relate the own experience to define purpose. Will we concede on that? Is there
Yeah,
context needed to have
I would
purpose?
say the thing I would say is different scales of completed sets. You know, like we deal with reality by breaking it into these chunks of different sizes, and so each of those chunks is like a set that gets completed, and then some emergent thing happens when a set gets completed. This is my little sort of working theory, such that when you put the final narrative touches on a story, something that's happened to you in your life, it's probably going to have, the story itself is going to have distinct boundaries. Like, it took place over the course of this 1 hour, or this 2 hours, or whatever. A certain finite number of events in the story. Provided your memory stays relatively sound, you shouldn't add events to the story, and possibly you'd lose 1 or 2 events from the story if there are a number of details over time. But the boundaries of the events stay basically the same. Now, that completed set of a story then becomes linked to other such time objects in your identity. And it's that linking process that causes emergent phenomena, which are new ideas, deeper understanding, more resonance, greater connection, good stuff like that. Or if you're making bad narratives out of your life events, or your life events compel bad narratives to cope with them. I mean, they are bad narratives. If you're subject to violence, stuff like that, then the links are gonna link and produce hurtful, harmful outcomes of the same sort as the good kind, but the opposite.
I think I would agree with that. It sounds sound, but when I have to listen back to this, I'll have to think.
It sounds like another crazy Eric idea. I'll hold up on this one. I think it sounds right to me too. It seems like a good idea. I like the set completion emergent phenomena.
Is this is this the first time you're exposed to it as well? Like you just channeled the idea and you're like, oh, here's an idea now.
No, it's actually a cornerstone of the big metaphysics. Eric's big metaphysics is this. It's sometimes I call them the slabs, right? The reason I call them sets in this case is I want to clarify that that's really what they are. The reason I call them slabs, I want to make the point that they get solid, they get locked in certain places, such that new events and new stories have to be told to fit around them. So it's important if you have like misshapen, badly structured narratives and stuff about certain events in your life that are misshapen and badly structured because they're hiding pain that you're being deceptive with yourself about or something like that, you want to do remodeling on that shit and like go and make your truths more streamlined, like carve away the extra rock, you know?
That makes sense.
How does this relate back to purpose?
Well, I would say that purpose is one
Defined
of
in
the
slabs.
colors of rock. One of the ways that the rocks get colored in the slabs. So it's when you have garish colors of some sort or no color of some sort, that is to say too much purpose or too little sense of solidity of purpose, then it's going to make your eyes hurt a little bit, so to speak. So I think the NTs are going to be prone to colorless rocks. Your NFs are going to be prone to neon rocks, and neither of them are particularly good. Your ESTJ is going to have your regular, correctly colored, this amount of sort of natural seeming red, you know, or brown, or whatever.
I think it's about time to wrap this up. It's gone on for 40 minutes.
Good call.
All right. Thanks for watching Talking with Famous People. Cheers.
Yes.